Hello, welcome to another video on our channel. Here, we translate testimonies from people who have had near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences. Today, let's learn the story of Aveline Harper. She says she died, had a powerful NDE, felt divine energy and had shocking revelations about September 2024. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Leave a comment with your name and city. Let's now hear Aveline's testimony. My name is Aveline Harper, and I'm about to share with you the story that completely changed the course of my life. Today, on the eve of September 2024, I feel a mix of emotions, anxiety, anticipation, and most of all, a deep sense of purpose. I'm 35 years old, I live in Denver, Colorado, and until 2017, I lived a life that many would consider ordinary. I worked as a software engineer, spent my weekends exploring the beautiful mountains around us with my partner, Danielle, and occasionally wondered if there was more to life than the daily grind. I've never been particularly religious or spiritual. My science background led me to a very pragmatic worldview. He believed in what he could see, touch, and measure. The idea of a reality beyond the physical seemed, at best, a comforting fantasy for those who feared the unknown. Little did I know that my perspective was about to be completely transformed by an event that would challenge everything I believed I knew about reality. Looking back, I realized that my life before 2017 was like a dream from which I had not yet awakened. I was asleep to the deeper truths of the universe, content with the shadows cast on the cave wall, as in Plato's allegory. But fate, or perhaps something much bigger, had other plans for me. As I sit here, on the eve of what I believe to be the most significant moment in human history, I feel the need to share my story, not to glorify myself or seek attention, but because I believe my experience can offer hope and guidance for a world that is on the cusp of monumental transformation. What I'm about to tell you isn't just a survival story or a fantastic tale of near-death experience. It is a testimony to a greater reality, a reality that constantly surrounds us, but that we rarely notice in our everyday existence. It is a message of hope, infinite love, and a bright future that awaits all humanity. I ask that you open not only your mind but also your heart as I share my journey. For what I experienced goes beyond intellectual understanding. It is something that must be felt, experienced, and embraced with your entire being. Prepare yourself for a story that challenges the limits of what we consider possible. A story that begins with a tragic accident in the mountains of Colorado, but which unfolds into a journey through the realms of the divine and back, carrying a message that has the power to change the world. It was an autumn day in 2017, one of those perfect days that seemed straight out of a postcard. The sky was a deep blue, dotted with fluffy clouds that looked like cotton candy. The trees on the mountainsides were painted in vibrant shades of red, orange, and gold, creating a spectacle of colors that took your breath away. Danielle and I decided to make the most of the day by taking a road trip through the mountains of Colorado, something we did often. I vividly remember how I felt that morning. There was an energy in the air, a sense of anticipation that I couldn't explain. I attributed it to the beauty of the day and the excitement of spending quality time with Danielle, away from the worries of work and everyday life. Little did I know that that day would change the course of my life forever. We hit the road early, with our favorite playlist playing softly on the car radio. The road wound through the mountains, offering stunning views at every turn. We talked excitedly about our plans for the future, dreams that now seemed so distant and insignificant compared to what was to come. As we climbed higher into the mountains, the road became more winding and narrow. We had made this trip countless times before, and I felt completely at ease, despite the steep cliffs that lined the road. Danielle was behind the wheel, her hands steady and confident on the wheel. It was when we came to a particularly sharp bend that everything changed in the blink of an eye. A car coming from the opposite direction suddenly entered our lane. Perhaps the driver was caught off guard by the curve, or perhaps he lost control due to a moment of distraction. The reason didn't matter at that crucial moment. I saw Danielle's eyes widen in horror, her hands frantically turning the steering wheel in an attempt to avoid the collision. I felt the car skidding, the wheels losing grip on the road. For a moment it seemed that we had avoided the other vehicle, but our joy was short-lived. Our car continued sliding, now heading towards the edge of the road. Time seemed to slow down. I could see every detail with surreal clarity, the leaves of the trees swaying in the breeze, the brightness of the sun reflecting off the hood of our car, the look of pure terror on Danielle's face. And then, the emptiness beyond the edge of the road, an abyss that seemed to call us. Our car went through the guardrail as if it were made of paper. There was a moment of suspension, as if we were floating in the air. Then the fall began. The car spun once, twice, 3 times. Each impact was like thunder, metal writhing and glass shattering. I was thrown against the seatbelt with brutal force, feeling as if every bone in my body was being shaken. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the car stopped. We were upside down, suspended only by our seatbelts. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the occasional clink of metal settling and the distant sound of wind. I opened my eyes, disoriented and in shock. Through the cracked windshield, I could see the sky and the treetops. I realized with horror that we were balanced precariously on the edge of a cliff, the car held in place only by a thin strip of twisted metal. It was at this moment, suspended between life and death, that my journey truly began. A journey that would take me beyond the limits of what I believed possible, and that would forever change my understanding of the universe and our place in it. As the car teetered precariously on the edge of the cliff, a strange, inexplicable calm enveloped me. The initial fear gave way to a calm acceptance of what seemed inevitable. I looked at Danielle, who was unconscious next to me, a trickle of blood running from her forehead. I wanted to reach her, comfort her, but my body didn't respond to my commands. It was in this moment of complete helplessness that something extraordinary began to happen. My perception began to shift in ways I had never experienced before. It was as if my consciousness was expanding, freeing itself from the limitations of my physical body. First came a feeling of lightness, as if the weight of my body was dissipating. The pain I should have been feeling from the impact of the accident just wasn't there. Instead, I felt a deep peace and mental clarity that was both strange and comforting. Then, I realized that I was somehow observing the accident scene from outside my body. I could see Danielle and I trapped in the wrecked car, but I could also see beyond that. I saw the trees around us, the sky above, and even the road above where we had fallen. It was as if I could see in all directions simultaneously, a perspective that my rational mind knew was impossible, but that at that moment seemed perfectly natural. As this new awareness intensified, I began to notice something even more extraordinary. The world around me, the trees, the rocks, and even the air, seemed to be alive and pulsing with an energy I had never noticed before. Each object emanated a soft light, and I could feel the invisible connections that connected everything. But the most surprising thing of all was when I realized that I was not alone in this experience. I felt the presence of countless other consciousnesses around me. They weren't physical shapes that I could see with my eyes, but presences that I could feel with a part of me that I didn't even know existed. These presences were warm, welcoming, and incredibly loving. One of these presences approached me, or perhaps it would be more accurate to say that it became more noticeable to me. There were no words spoken, but I could clearly understand what was being communicated. It was an invitation to go further, to leave the physical world behind and delve deeper into this new realm of existence. For a moment, I hesitated. I looked back at the wrecked car, at the still unconscious Danielle, and felt a pang of worry and attachment. But the presence assured me that everything would be okay, that this was just a transition, not an end. With that assurance, I gave myself completely to the experience. It was like diving into an ocean of light and consciousness. The last ties that held me to the physical world were released, and I found myself being taken into a completely new realm of existence. As I entered this new plane of reality, my consciousness continued to expand. I began to understand things that were previously beyond my comprehension. I saw the interconnectedness of all things, the unity underlying all existence. I realized that what we call death is just a transition, a change of state, not an end. In this heightened state of consciousness, time as we know it did not exist. I can't say how long my journey in this realm lasted. It could have been seconds or eternities. What I do know is that each moment was filled with profound revelations and transformative experiences that defy description in human words. I was on the threshold between two worlds, with one foot in each reality. On the one hand, the physical world that I have always known, with its limitations and challenges. On the other, a realm of infinite possibilities, unconditional love and universal wisdom. And it was in this state of expanded existence that I received the vision that would change not only my life, but potentially the course of humanity. As I floated in this state of expanded consciousness, something extraordinary began to unfold before me. It was as if the fabric of the universe itself was tearing apart, revealing secrets and truths that are normally beyond human understanding. Suddenly, my attention was drawn to a view of Earth. It wasn't like seeing the planet from a satellite or a spaceship. It was a much more comprehensive perspective, as if I could see not only the physical form of the planet, but also its energetic and spiritual layers. As I watched, I noticed that the energy around the Earth was changing. Waves of golden light began to envelop the planet, pulsing with increasing intensity. It was as if the Earth itself was awakening, raising its vibration to a new level of existence. Then, as if someone had adjusted the focus of a cosmic lens, my attention was drawn to a specific point in time. September 2024 shone with an intensity that outshone everything around it. It was as if this particular month was a beacon, drawing the attention of the entire universe. I understood, without words being necessary, that this would be a moment of profound transformation for humanity. I saw millions of people around the world experiencing simultaneous spiritual awakenings. It was as if veils were being lifted from their eyes, allowing them to see the true nature of reality for the first time. I saw waves of energy traveling across the planet, activating ancient power centers and awakening new consciousness. Pyramids, stone circles, and other sacred sites around the world began to pulse with renewed energy, as if they were preparing to play a crucial role in this great transformation. Even more impressive was the vision of a shift in humanity's own collective consciousness. I saw the barriers between people dissolving, replaced by a sense of unity and interconnectedness. Conflicts that seemed insoluble began to resolve themselves as people awakened to their true nature as spiritual beings having a human experience. The vision expanded even further, showing me the long-term implications of this transformation. I saw a new era of peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding unfolding. Revolutionary advances in science and technology, inspired by this new understanding of reality, have led to solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems, from the climate crisis to disease eradication. But what impressed me most was the change in humanity's relationship with the planet and the entire cosmos. I saw people rediscovering their connection with nature, treating the Earth not as a resource to be exploited, but as a living being to be respected and nurtured. I saw humanity taking its first true steps towards becoming a cosmic civilization, not only exploring physical space, but also the spiritual dimensions of the universe. However, the vision also showed that this awakening would not be without challenges. I saw periods of confusion and chaos as old structures and systems that no longer served the greater good began to crumble. I saw people struggling to adapt to this new reality, some embracing the change with enthusiasm, others resisting out of fear of the unknown. I understood that the role of those as like me, who had glimpses of this greater reality, would be crucial in the times to come. We would be called to be beacons of light, helping to guide others through this great transition. As the vision came to an end, I felt a surge of unconditional love and compassion for all humanity. I understood that despite the challenges we would face, the end result would be an unprecedented evolution in human consciousness. September 2024 would not be the end, but the beginning of a new era for humanity. When the vision dissipated, I felt transformed. I knew my life would never be the same again. He now carried not only the knowledge of what was to come, but also the responsibility to help pave the way for this great transformation. As suddenly as it had begun, my journey into the spiritual realm came to an end. I felt myself being pulled back into my physical body with incredible force. It was like diving into ice-cold water after floating in the heat of the sun. The transition was jarring and disorienting. I opened my eyes and found myself back in the crashed car. The contrast between the expansion and freedom I had experienced and the limitations of my physical body was overwhelming. For a moment, I felt a deep sadness and a sense of loss, as if I had been uprooted from home. The sounds around me began to become clearer. I heard the creak of metal settling, the wind blowing through the broken windows, and in the distance, the sound of approaching sirens. The reality of our accident came back with a vengeance. I turned to Daniel, who was still unconscious next to me. Fear for his safety brought me completely back to the present moment. I called his name repeatedly, my voice hoarse and shaky. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally moved, letting out a low moan. The relief I felt was indescribable. Despite everything he had experienced, the love and concern he felt for Danielle was very real and immediate. I realized that as transformative as my experience was, I was still human, still connected to this world and the people in it. The next few minutes passed in a confusing blur. Rescue teams arrived, working carefully to extract us from the wrecked car. I remember being placed on a stretcher, the bright blue sky above me in sharp contrast to the chaos around me. All the while, I clung to the memories of my experience, fearing that they might disappear like a dream upon awakening. The vision of September 2024 was burned into my mind, a promise and a burden I knew I would carry for years to come. At the hospital, the doctors were surprised by our condition. Other than a few cuts and bruises, Danielle and I had escaped largely unscathed. They called it a miracle, and I knew that, in a way, it was exactly that. But while my physical body was relatively intact, my inner world had been completely transformed. I looked at the people around me, doctors, nurses, other patients, and saw them in a completely new way. I could sense the light within each of them, the divine spark that connected them to everything in the universe. The worries and anxieties that once occupied my mind seemed insignificant now. How could I worry about deadlines at work or bills to pay when I had experienced the vastness of the cosmos and the interconnectedness of all things? In the days that followed, I struggled to readapt to everyday life. The world seemed both familiar and strange at the same time. The colors seemed more vibrant, the sounds richer, each moment charged with meaning I couldn't fully comprehend. Danielle noticed the change in me almost immediately. She looked at me with a mixture of concern and curiosity, sensing that something profound had happened but unable to fully understand what. I tried to explain my experience to her, but words seemed inadequate to capture the magnitude of what I had experienced. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I began to understand that my return was not just to the physical world, but to a new phase of my life. I carried with me not only the memories of my experience, but also a mission to prepare myself and others for the great transformation that was to come. The path ahead of me would not be easy. I knew I would face skepticism, misunderstanding, and even ridicule, but I also knew I wasn't alone. The connection I had felt to the universe and all life remained with me, a constant source of strength and guidance. As I physically recovered from the accident, I began planning how I would share my message with the world. September 2024 might seem far away, but I knew the time would pass quickly. There was a lot of work to be done, a lot of people to reach, a lot of minds and hearts to open to the possibilities the future held. My return was not an end, but a beginning. A new journey was just beginning, a journey that would take me to places I never imagined and connect with people who, like me, dreamed of a better world. And although the path was uncertain, I faced it with a heart full of hope and a spirit strengthened by the certainty of the universal love I had experienced. The first few days after my near-death experience were, to say the least, surreal I found myself torn between two worlds. The physical world around me, with its familiar routine and expectations, and the spiritual realm that I had glimpsed, the memory of which still reverberated in every fiber of my being. The first thing I noticed was a profound change in my perception. Colors seemed more vibrant, sounds richer and more complex. It was as if my senses had been heightened, allowing me to experience the world with an intensity I had never known before. Sometimes this was overwhelming. A simple sunset could leave me in tears, overwhelmed by the beauty and awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. Sleeping became a challenge. My dreams were vivid and charged with symbolism, often returning me to that realm of light and expanded consciousness. I often woke up in the middle of the night, sweating and disoriented. The border between dream and reality blurred. My relationship with time has also changed drastically. Hours could pass as I was lost in thought or meditation, contemplating the implications of my experience and the vision of September 2024. At the same time, each moment felt infinitely precious, charged with potential and meaning. Daniel was my safe haven during this turbulent time. His presence was a constant reminder of the love and connection I felt on the spiritual plane, now manifested in the physical world. She listened patiently as I tried, often unsuccessfully, to articulate what I had experienced. Even when I didn't fully understand, her unwavering support was crucial to my readjustment. However, not everything was harmony between us. My new perspective on life inevitably caused tensions in our relationship. Things that once seemed important, career advancement, accumulating material possessions, now seemed trivial to me. Danielle, understandably, struggled to adjust to this new version of me. Returning to work was another challenge. Sitting in front of a computer, dealing with codes and deadlines, felt surreal after having experienced the vastness of the cosmos. My colleagues noticed the change in me, although they couldn't pinpoint exactly what was different. Some found me distracted or uninterested. Others commented on a new serenity that I seemed to emanate. It was during this time that I began to feel a calling to share my experience and the message I had received. I started timidly, talking to close friends about what had happened. Their reactions ranged from fascination to polite skepticism, but what surprised me was how many had their own stories to share, inexplicable experiences, moments of deep connection, insights that didn't fit into their usual worldview. I realized I wasn't alone. There were others like me, people who had glimpsed something beyond the veil of everyday reality. I started actively looking for them, participating in online discussion groups, attending lectures on spirituality and expanded consciousness. At the same time, I immersed myself in books and studies on near-death experiences, quantum physics, spiritual philosophies, and anything that could help me understand and contextualize what I had experienced. The more I learned, the more I saw the connections between different fields of knowledge, all pointing to a larger, more interconnected reality than our conventional understanding suggests. But not every day was full of revelations and discoveries. There were moments of deep doubt, when I questioned whether everything had just been a hallucination caused by the trauma of the accident. There were days when the magnitude of the task before me, preparing people for the great transformation I had envisioned, felt overwhelming. In these moments, I remembered the feeling of unconditional love and acceptance I had experienced during my spiritual journey. It gave me the strength to keep going, to face skepticism and misunderstanding with compassion and patience. Slowly, day by day, I began to find a balance. I learned to navigate between the spiritual world I had experienced and the physical world in which I still lived. I began to see that my task was not only to prepare others for the change that was coming, but also to learn to live fully in the present, incorporating the lessons I had learned into every aspect of my life. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I felt more and more prepared for the journey ahead of me. The path would not be easy, I knew. As the months passed after my near-death experience, I felt an increasing urge to share what I had experienced and the message I had received. It wasn't just a desire, but a deep need, as if every cell in my body was programmed for this mission. I started modestly, sharing my story with close friends and family. Reactions were varied. Some listened with fascination, others with skepticism, and some with clear concern. Danielle, in particular, struggled to understand. She had witnessed my transformation firsthand, but still found it difficult to fully accept the magnitude of what I was claiming to have experienced. I quickly realized that I needed to find a way to communicate my experience that was accessible and non-threatening. I didn't want to be seen as someone preaching or imposing a new belief, but rather as someone sharing a perspective that could bring hope and transformation. I decided to start a blog where I could share not only my story, but also reflections on consciousness, spirituality, and human potential. To my surprise, the blog quickly started gaining followers. People from all over the world began contacting me, sharing their own experiences of transcendent moments or expressing how my story had touched something deep within them. Encouraged by this response, I began accepting invitations to speak at small groups and local events. At first, I shook with nervousness every time I stood in front of an audience, but as I continued to share my story, I gained confidence. I learned to articulate my experience in a way that resonated with people regardless of their beliefs or backgrounds. One of the most challenging aspects was talking about the vision of September 2024. I knew that for many, this sounded like an apocalyptic prophecy or a New Age fantasy. Spiritual leaders who saw in my message echoes of ancient wisdom traditions. Environmentalists who resonated with the vision of a humanity more connected to the earth. But I also faced opposition, skeptics who dismissed my experience as a trauma-induced hallucination. Traditional religious leaders who see my message as a threat to their established teachings. Friends and coworkers who begin to avoid me, uncomfortable with my new outlook on life. Each challenge, however, only serves to strengthen my resolve. I learned to see resistance not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to refine my message, to find more effective ways to communicate the truths I have experienced. As my audience grows, so does the responsibility I feel. People start looking to me for guidance, hoping I have all the answers. It's an uncomfortable position. I constantly remind myself that my role is not to be a guru or spiritual leader, but simply a messenger, sharing what I have experienced and encouraging others to seek their own truths. Today, nearly 7 years after my near-death experience, I find myself at the center of a growing movement. People from all corners of the world are coming together, united by the vision of a more conscious and connected future. We organize conferences, retreats, and workshops, creating spaces where people can explore their own transcendental experiences and prepare for the transformation to come. Technology plays a crucial role in our mission. Through social media, podcasts, and live broadcasts, we have been able to reach millions of people with our message. We create meditation and virtual reality apps that help people expand their consciousness and connect with higher dimensions of reality. However, as September 2024 approaches, I feel a growing urgency. There is still so much to be done, so many people to reach. Sometimes the weight of responsibility is overwhelming. In these moments, I turn to the practice of meditation, reconnecting with that sense of peace and unity that I experienced during my journey beyond life. Danielle has remained by my side throughout this journey, even though our relationship has evolved in ways neither of us could have predicted. She became not only my life partner, but a crucial collaborator in our mission. Her down-to-earth perspective complements my more ethereal outlook, keeping us grounded as we navigate uncharted waters. Looking ahead to the months between us and September 2024, I feel a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The magnitude of what is to come sometimes seems beyond comprehension. But then I remember the vision I received, the unconditional love I experienced, and I know that no matter what happens, we are on the right path. Sharing this message has become more than a mission. It is the central purpose of my existence. Every person we reach, every mind we open to new possibilities, every heart we touch with the promise of a brighter future is a victory. And as we continue on this journey, I know we are paving the way for a new era of human consciousness. As we approach September 2024, I feel a palpable intensification of the energy around us. It's as if the air itself is charged with expectation, vibrating with possibilities not yet realized. Our network of conscious and awakened individuals continues to grow exponentially, and I feel that we are on the threshold of something truly extraordinary. Over the past few months, we have intensified our efforts to prepare as many people as possible for the imminent transformation. We organize mass meditation retreats where thousands of people come together to collectively raise their consciousness. These events are powerful, creating energy fields that can be felt for miles around. We are also working tirelessly to spread practical knowledge that will help people navigate the changes that lie ahead. These include meditation and mindfulness techniques, practices to raise personal vibration. We also face a rising tide of skepticism and even hostility. Some accuse us of spreading panic or false hope. Others label us as a cult or a dangerous movement. Dealing with this negativity is a constant challenge. Researchers from several renowned universities are conducting studies into the effects of our practices on brain activity and general well-being. Some have even begun to explore the possibility of large-scale shifts in collective consciousness. Although there is still a lot of skepticism, I have increasingly frequent visions and insights, often waking up in the middle of the night with crystal clarity about the next steps we should take. Danielle has been my rock throughout this entire process. Your steadying presence keeps me grounded when I sometimes feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of what we are facing. She has also gone through her own transformations, developing a sensitivity to subtle energies that she did not previously possess. Seeing her blossom and grow alongside me has been one of the greatest joys of this journey. As September approaches, we are finalizing preparations for what we believe will be the culmination of all our work. We planned a global mass meditation event, timed to coincide with the exact moment I saw in my vision. Millions of people around the world have already committed to participating, and we expect this number to grow even more in the weeks leading up to the event. However, amidst all this activity and anticipation, I am also aware that the end result is beyond our control. My experience has shown me that there are much greater forces at play, and our role is simply to open up and allow ourselves to be conduits for the transformation that is coming. There are times when I wonder if we are truly prepared for what is to come. The magnitude of the change I've seen in my vision is overwhelming, and I know not everyone will welcome it with open arms. There will be confusion, fear, and resistance. Part of our work in the coming months will be to help people navigate these difficult emotions, offering support and guidance as we all adapt to a new reality. Even so, a feeling of hope and anticipation predominates. I can feel the potential for a new chapter in human history looming on the horizon. It's a future where we are more connected, with each other, with the planet, and with the cosmos as a whole. A future where our expanded consciousness allows us to solve problems that previously seemed insurmountable. As the days pass and September 2024 approaches, I find myself reflecting on the journey that brought me here. From the near-death experience that changed everything, to the challenges of sharing my message, to this moment of collective anticipation, every step seems to have been guided by a greater intelligence. Now, on the eve of this great transformation, I feel deep gratitude for everything I have experienced and everyone I have met along the way. Regardless of what September 2024 brings, I know we have done our best to prepare the ground for a new dawn of human consciousness. And so, with a heart full of hope and eyes fixed on the horizon, I prepare, along with millions of others around the world, to welcome a new era. We have seen a dramatic increase in interest in our message. People from all parts of the world, of all backgrounds and beliefs, are turning to us for guidance and understanding. Our servers can barely handle the traffic on our website, a powerful demonstration of how many people are ready for this change. But not everything is rosy. As the day approaches, we also see an increase in resistance and fear. There are those who accuse us of spreading panic, others who label us charlatans. Some governments have even issued warnings against participating in our mass meditation event. I understand these fears and this resistance. Change, especially on such a large scale, can be scary. But I also know, deep in my heart, that what is coming is a blessing for humanity, not a curse. Today, I spent much of the day in deep meditation, tuning into the energies that are gathering around us. What I feel is difficult to put into words. It's as if the entire universe is holding its breath, waiting for the right moment to exhale. During my meditation, I got glimpses of what is to come. I saw waves of light sweeping across the planet, touching every living thing. I saw people waking up to a new reality, their eyes opening to truths that had always been there but had never been able to see before. I saw the beginning of a new era of cooperation and understanding among all peoples. But I also saw challenges. I saw confusion and fear as ancient structures began to crumble. I have seen those who will fight change, desperately clinging to the familiar. And I saw that our work, far from ending tomorrow, is just beginning. Danielle is by my side as I write this, her presence a constant reminder of the love that got us here. She also spent the day preparing, in her own way. I see in his eyes a mix of excitement and apprehension that mirrors my own feelings. Our team is constantly moving, finalizing preparations for tomorrow. We have support centers established around the world, ready to help people navigate the changes that lie ahead. Our online platforms are ready to handle the massive influx of people seeking guidance and connection. As night falls, I feel a strange calm settle over me. It's as if all the years of preparation, all the doubts and struggles, all the moments of joy and despair have led me to this moment. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, we will be on the brink of a new era for humanity. I don't know exactly what this will bring, but I trust what I saw and felt. I trust in the love and wisdom I have experienced during my journey beyond life. As I get ready for bed, I take one last look out the window. The night sky is full of stars, each one a reminder of the vastness and beauty of the universe of which we are a part. Tomorrow, we will take our first collective step towards a deeper understanding of this vastness. With a heart full of gratitude, love, and hope, I lay down to rest. Tomorrow will be a new day, not just for me, but for all humanity, and I'm ready to welcome you with open arms. Today is August 31st, 2024, and the tension in the air is palpable. I'm sitting in my office, watching the sun set over the horizon, aware that when it rises again, we will be on the threshold of something extraordinary. The energy around me is almost electric, charged with anticipation and possibility. Since dawn, I have received incessant messages from people around the world. Some express hope and excitement, others fear and uncertainty. Everyone feels like something monumental is about to happen. Our support network is working 24 hours a day, offering comfort and guidance to those who need it. Danielle is by my side, her presence an anchor amid the whirlwind of emotions I feel. Together we review the final preparations for tomorrow's event. More than 1 billion people have already confirmed their participation in global meditation, a number that continues to grow hourly. The news on television and the internet is a chaotic mix of speculation and anticipation. Some channels are broadcasting 24-hour coverage of our movement and what might happen tomorrow. Others are warning against mass hysteria and urging caution. The division of opinion is a sharp reminder of the challenges that still lie ahead. As the day progresses, I feel waves of energy passing through me. They are like preludes of what is to come, small glimpses of the transformation that is approaching. In moments of stillness, I can almost hear the universe whispering, preparing for the great awakening. My thoughts wander to the journey that brought me here. From the near-death experience that changed everything, through years of doubt, struggle, and discovery, to this culminating moment. I feel deep gratitude for every step of the way, even the most difficult ones. As night falls, Danielle and I get ready for bed. Tomorrow we will wake up before dawn to prepare for the event. I lie down on the bed, my heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. What exactly will happen tomorrow? How will the world change? How will people react? I close my eyes and take a deep breath, seeking that sense of peace and unity that I experienced during my journey beyond life. It is there, pulsing gently beneath the surface of reality, waiting to be revealed to everyone. Tomorrow at 11:11, Greenwich Mean Time, The world as we know it will change forever. I don't know exactly what this change will be like, but I trust what I saw and felt. I trust the love and wisdom I have experienced. As I fall asleep on this historic night, my last thoughts are of hope. Hope for a new dawn, for a united humanity, for a future of infinite possibilities. Tomorrow, we will take the first collective step towards that future. And I'm ready. We are ready. The world is ready. If you enjoyed this beautiful spiritual testimony, please leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch every new video and help us spread this message to a wider audience. See you next time.